Hi, my name's Melanie Hudson, and this is my video chat for our discussion three this week. We had a lot of information to unpack, and it was very interesting, of course, being the beginning of Black History Month. A lot of the information that we read was very timely. And it was just interesting because it brings up some interesting points that's happening right now in education. But just thinking about from reading about strange fruit to the articles about education against Blacks, I kind of want to start there, just with that article in particular, the acts against the education of slaves in South Carolina, cited by William Goodell, the American Slave Code in Theory and Practice. But thinking about that article and how it was talking about really the danger or the fear or threat of educating Black people. And I find that very interesting because this was written almost 400 years ago, and today we're still having that argument. And no matter about your politics, because I'm not trying to be political, but just I find it very interesting that we are now having that discussion about whether or not Black history should be included as American history, or how certain parts of history should be excluded because it doesn't favor the dominant culture. And it's very interesting because then when you read this article that was written in 1819, and you see that it was still like that same fear of educating, the fear of what would someone do if they had knowledge. And so kind of pulling it from a school counselor standpoint, I'm always thinking about the self-esteem of our students, teaching our students to be proud of who they are, learning how to love themselves, as they are going through this journey of self-discovery, and working with students from different ethnicities and different races. Something that is a common denominator, I think, that we'll find is the importance of their culture. And a lot of their culture is rooted in history. And so just thinking from a mother's standpoint, from a mother of two Black boys and a little Black girl, I know it's very important for them to understand their history, their immediate history, from their grandparents to their aunts and uncles and what they have done to get here, to even going all the way back to just history of Black people in America. That helps instill in them a sense of pride, a sense of determination, understanding their resilience, and understanding really who they are as a people. And that's very important. And I think we can't forget that. And so it's important for all of our students to be able to see themselves and their history in education. When they're in the classroom, when they're in US history and world history or what have not, and they're learning about all these different cultures, it's important that they learn about all the different cultures. And so it was just very interesting to read that article and that information and kind of connect it to what we're going through today. The Strange Fruit. I don't know if you all have watched the movie Billie Holiday versus the United States of America. I just watched it not too long ago. I'm a little late to the train, but it's an excellent movie, just kind of dramatizing what Ella Fitzgerald went through by writing that song, protesting social injustice. And just thinking about even now how music does play a role and how artists are still doing all that they can to protest social justice through their art. And so just reading all of that together, it was right on time. One of the things I'm doing in my school now to help promote Black History Month is having students share what Black history means to them, and sharing little known Black history facts. And some of the answers that I have received that our students have shared, that has been very inspiring, is being able to express themselves through different genres. In fact, our senior class president shared that in her message of what Black History Month meant to her. Is she said Black history means to her that she is able to express herself in many different ways, and be creative because of those that were before her. And she mentioned some of the musical influences in her life, some of the poets in her life. And so it was, again, everything is just connecting with what's going on right now in my professional life and at my school with Black History Month and my students and things of that nature. So then moving on to 13th. I've seen this movie 3 times. I watched it once with my husband, then watched it again with my 14-year-old son and my 15-year-old son. And then I watched it one more time to watch it for this class. And something that stood out to me the 3rd time I watched it, of course, it's disheartening. It makes you think. But thinking about how I can connect it to school counseling, the one thing that did resonate with me the 3rd time I watched it is I realized that we have a population of students at our school that we don't address, and that is the population of students who are dealing with parents who are incarcerated. And it was something that one of the I cannot remember exactly who it was. I want to say it was Brian, one of the attorneys for the Innocence Project, I believe, but I might be mistaken. But someone made the statement that it's not only the father or the mother or whomever that's doing time, it's the entire family. And so that got me thinking about what is it that I'm really doing, and what are we doing in our building to help address, 1, to help identify those students, and 2, to address the needs of those students. And it's a difficult thing because it's not something that a lot of our kids will bring up. I know the kids that I am aware of whose parents are incarcerated, I just happen to know because the grandmother shared it with me, or an aunt or an uncle, or because I know the family. I know myself that the parent is incarcerated. But thinking about how that changes the dynamics of the family and how that affects the student, just thinking about programs that we can do as school counselors to address those needs. And so watching 13th kind of triggered my brain to thinking about what can we do in the building to address the needs of those students. And so that was very interesting. And I even asked my sons, like, what are some things that they would need? I was like, heaven forbid, if Dad and I were to be incarcerated, what kind of support would you want? And my 14-year-old son said, Mom, he said, I probably would never say anything because I would be embarrassed. I wouldn't want anyone to know that you and Dad were in jail. He said, but what would help me is if I knew someone whose parent was in jail too, that I could talk to know that I'm not alone. And so that kind of got me thinking about what it is that we can do to have some type of peer or buddy system, or even mentors to come in and meet with some of our students in a very discreet way, because you do want to be mindful of their privacy, but don't want to ignore the fact that they have needs that need to be met. So just thinking about all of that together, last week's readings have been very insightful, have got me thinking about how I can take what we are discussing and help apply it to my current job. And those are my thoughts on this week. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. But that's it. That's all I have to share. Thank you for listening.